Two a.m. in Amsterdam, local time. Let me tell you a tale. No, I'm kidding. Let's talk about a business model for the Make Sense Amsterdam hotspot, or the Netherlands. We have this idea of creating a business model, like the incubators and so on, but we have an idea for a different kind of business model. We're thinking of what we can do that actually gives us an advantage in the Netherlands, that actually uses the advantages in the country and the ecosystem that we have and all the tools that are available. And we were thinking of having an event as a yearly event, a big social business event, the biggest social business event eventually developed into the biggest one in Europe every year. And I would like to tell you why Amsterdam is the place to do something like that. Well, first of all, Amsterdam is a conference and city and party city. There are from the Amsterdam Dance event that started with 3 days, 30 clubs, 300 DJs, is now a week event, almost 10 days, with conference and all the different clubs in the city, even places that are not clubs become clubs. All the DJs in the world almost arrive here, and a lot of people from the whole scene of events and parties. From that Amsterdam Dance event through the IBC, one of the biggest conferences for media, if I remember correctly what it is, and all the different, the TNW, the Next Web, the biggest tech event in Europe every year. So there's a lot of things going on here already. And that means also that a lot of people already come here, if it's speakers, if it's audience, and that the city is well prepared for it. So Amsterdam is anyway a popular destination. There's always a lot of tourists coming here. There's always, okay, there's a conference in Amsterdam, let's go, is easier than there's a conference in wherever other city that is just less popular, because you think about the things you will do also outside of the conference. There's no language barrier here. 100%, almost 100% of the Dutch population speaks English, so it's very easy to make conferences in English. The Next Web is the best example for that. The whole event was always in English, a tech event that started from 100 people and grew to 15,000 last year. And we have Make Sense people volunteering to that event already 2 years in a row. This year is going to be the 3rd year in a row that we volunteer and see how you create an event in such a magnitude. This is a safe, clean, green and sustainable city. The City Hall is trying to implement a lot of different programs. They have their own incubator. What was the name? Start Amsterdam? I don't remember. But they have their own incubation program for startups for solving different challenges that the city is facing, and they want to become a much more clean and sustainable city, but they're already very much so. So it gives the right impression, and you understand why do you go for a social business conference to Amsterdam. It's a logical city to put it. There's openness from the government towards social business and innovation. I gave example with how the City Hall is behaving, but also the government shows this kind of direction. If you look at the Chamber of Commerce and how it operates, they encourage a lot of people to open businesses and become entrepreneurs. They think it's a way to solve also increasing job demand and problems with us losing our jobs to robots and stuff. Amsterdam is part of the trilogy of the 3 most startup cities in Europe, which we know, as makes sense, it's obvious, London and Berlin are the other 2. And Amsterdam gives a very strong competition, so that's another reason why Make Sense event of social innovation should be in one of these 3 cities. And of course Amsterdam is the best out of these 3 cities, let's face it. Network. Present, meaning there are a lot of players here in the network of social business, and a lot of them are already know about Make Sense and are part of our personal network of our hotspots. And it's also easily scalable, so there's a lot of different partners you can approach. There's a lot of different organizations with CSR departments that would give money, and like Triodos Bank that we got 500 euros for the last event, which was really nice that we could get a partnership with Triodos. And there's a lot of organizers and participants. There's a wide network to create events, besides for social business, but in general. Beside that, facilities. There are venues that are made in Amsterdam only for events, because there are so many of them. So there's a lot of different kind of venues that give you a lot of different kind of possibilities for different sizes of crowd, different distances from the center, and so on and so forth. So it's very easy to find the right venue, and if you scale up, you know always, okay, we go into this area of venues, and then we move to these possibilities, and there's always a few possibilities for no matter size that you would want. From a small event in a bar to the arena for 50,000 or 100,000 people. Beside that, many businesses in the city exist from creating events. So there are different facilitation and organization and hosting and different logistics kind of companies that deal with events on a regular basis, and they're based on that. So the industry is very well developed to create events. It's easy if you have the money, of course, which is for something we'll have to deal with. The Next Web, like we said, grew in 12 years from 100 people to 15,000 in the city. It became the biggest tech event in Europe. And they even they copied recently their event to New York from Amsterdam. And like I said, makes sense, people were already part of it, and we're learning how to do stuff like that. So there are shitloads of conferences, we said, in the city, but most of them are really expensive. The Next Web alone is 500 euros for a ticket for entrance to the whole event. If you look at the different social business conferences that already exist in the Netherlands, like the Social Business Forum and things like that, it's like 150, 200 euros per person. There's only 150, 200 people. There's a discount ticket for students is 50 euros, which is super expensive. It's a one-day conference that is not even a full day. I was quite disappointed of that. It's like an elitistic social business conference, and it's a very high barrier. A lot of different social entrepreneurs that could have enjoyed networking in that event with those elitistic people could not afford going with I'm not going to pay 200 euros for a conference of half a day to see Muhammad Yunus and Tony Chocoloni speaking on stage. It also doesn't give much back for the money. The food was good, and you got to see Christian Vanizet if you're in the last one or the one before. Anyway. So it has very limited impact, and we would like to change that conference, and not change it, but create a good one. So why make sense Amsterdam? We have probably one of the biggest active core teams spread out in the Netherlands, and we are consisting of both locals and expats, which is, if you look at the French hotspots, for example, there's very little amount of expats. It's mostly French people, and that's why it's in French. And we are combined, I think, very well the dynamics of both locals that can help us in getting places, getting into places, talking with the right people, and the expats, which bring the expat community. So that's a good combination, and we have a good core team active. We meet every day, every week on Wednesday already for maybe a year and a half, and the core team is just growing. So it looks very good. More than half of us have extensive experience with event management, so it's something that we do well. We even have one team member, one of the Dutch team members, that she's now doing a bachelor on event management, and she helped a lot in the last Sense Camp. You can talking about Mirte, and you can ask Lauren about this. I'm sure she could explain more because she saw her at work. We proved, I think, quite well in the last, like 3.5 years that we have Make Sense in the Netherlands. Maybe it's 4, almost. April, which year we went to the first Sense Camp? I don't know. Maybe it was in April 2014. So yeah, let's say almost 3 years that we have, almost 4 years, that we have Sense Camp, that we have Make Sense hotspots in the Netherlands. And we proved that we know quite well the Make Sense DNA. Not saying that we know it perfectly, and not saying that we're not coming to Paris, and that's why we're coming to Paris for the festival, to see what you are doing and to talk with you about this further. But we are very willing to continue learning the Make Sense DNA and to apply it in all levels in what we are doing. We're not thinking of any other way. So the fact that you need to come to Paris and do this program, be part of this program, we completely understand, and are completely willing to come, a few of us, to do that. Like I said, we already, I think, proved very well that we do things the Make Sense way. Beside that, we showed already our ability to both learn and to help Make Sense community enlarge in Europe. If it's opening hotspots in Malaga, Oslo, Malmo, refreshing the one in Copenhagen, continuous help with Oslo. We went back to facilitate the first hold up there for 30 people inside an event about social business. It was really cool, and we, I think, gave already quite a lot of ideas and showed good ability to tweak events and make things differently and expand the experimental part of Make Sense events. Beside that, we have already strong partners. Triodos Bank, we have a person from the inside. We have a banker that is part of the Make Sense team in Rotterdam that now is going to be more active because we have another new core member in Rotterdam. Things are just growing so fast. Sapient as a sponsor, the Light Labs, very strong partner. We moved all our events there now. It's a really nice location. They're very good in entrepreneurship. They're part also of now the acceleration program. And more, Heroes and Friends and Project Together, and like it's just lately since the Sense Camp we are getting, instead of reaching out to partners, people are reaching out to us to partner with them. So we're also the cards are changing to the right direction to our advantage. We have Sapient as a permanent sponsor of Make Sense in the Netherlands. Almost €1,000 expenses for the last Sense Camp. And this will continue, business cards and things that we need, the banner that we have now, all the different fun parts that Make Sense needs for money that will be supported, continuously being supported by Sapient, and we intend to continue doing that. And we bring also skills with Sapient. We are now hiring new interns for the new programs of Sapient, and they will also help with Make Sense. They are not hired anymore for Make Sense like it was before because of the problems we had, and they are now hired for Sapient, but they do Make Sense work. Like we saw the designers making all the different things we need for the Sense Camp, the website, the banner, the game, everything that we needed, the badges. We know how to concentrate on our core skills and partner up with our network ecosystem. For example, the Impact Acceleration Program, which proves that we did a really cool partnership because we give a lot to the social entrepreneur, all the different 4 organizations, but each organization really focuses on what they do best. So at the end, for the 6 people that are accepted into this program, we will simply have to do hold-ups, and hold-ups is what we do best. So it's a really cool partnership. We made it an acceleration program, but we just do our hold-ups. We don't do anything more than that. Of course, we created a website and we went through the process of making this program. We're the most active member. We suggested the idea to the other partners while one of them brought us together. So we show also that we know how to concentrate on our core skills and still achieve much bigger things in a bigger picture, like this acceleration program. And we want to do the same with the events. We understand and work for and with the ecosystem. So we are constantly on almost a daily basis, we're in touch, if it's with our social entrepreneurs or with our partners, discussing different things, if it's with the Light Labs, that we have a very intense communication. So we're very part of the ecosystem. We don't just pop up randomly in different places. We have 2 events every month already for 2 years. And this month, for example, we have 3 because of the Sense Tech. That was very easy for us to organize because we're inside the ecosystem also in Utrecht. And we have the right partners, so they already have an event and we just joined and we bring our social aspect to their already tech event. So again, really inside the ecosystem and operating with it. And for our first Fairy Sense Camp, we made something that was never tried before, the no speakers at all. And it went so well, and we got such good feedback just from the first try. And I think that proves a lot about the commitment that we put behind the concept that we brought, and with a good execution, with 20 volunteers in our first event. I'm really happy from the results of our Sense Camp. I think Lauren can say more. And actually, if we're already touching that, I expected more of you to be there. But we'll talk about it another time. We are already working on 2018 Amsterdam Sense Camp. We started 8 months in advance. Again, shows we want to grow, we want to do something even better and putting more effort and avoiding all the mistakes we did recognize we did in the last one. And for that we started even more. We're a bigger team from the beginning because the beginning we were small and then closer to the Sense Camp we got bigger. But now we're already big and we'll get bigger closer to the Sense Camp. So we're going to have an awesome team. We have the opportunity to grow slowly from what we did for the first Sense Camp in 2017, to grow every time, let's say, from 100 to 150, and then to 200, and to 250, and then maybe jump to 500, but the point is to scale up from every Sense Camp to the next. Then we had already 40 plus sense camps worldwide in the last 5 or 6 years, and they're all the same. We try to do something differently, and we succeeded, but we want also in general to bring sense camp to the next level. They were good enough until now, but we believe that if Make Sense wants to make this next step for to be a better worldwide community, that we got now advice from experts for that whole idea and so on, and changed the way we look and so on, then we also need to think of how to professionalize more these events. They're really cool the way they are and community based and very special and small, but we think it's time to also bring that to the next level for the hotspot that are able to do something like that, and we can. We want to create a business model from this idea. That's the whole point of this whole video and us talking to you, and create a situation where there's people that work year-long for an event in the same way that the Next Web is now a business and they now have 14 positions. Sorry that I'm giving them as an example, but they're just a good one. They have 14 new openings, which brings their crew they're going to be like 35, 40 paid positions in the Next Web, because they have 500 euros per ticket and 15,000 people coming. They take over the whole Vester Park. So where was I? Okay, yeah. So like I said, there were already 40 plus or something like that sense camps worldwide, and it's time to move to the next level of that, and we're ready to bring Make Sense to the next level of sense camps through our event in Amsterdam. We want to create a business model from this idea, like I said, and we want to launch and apply it, the actual plan to start in 2019. We're taking the time to build it properly. And to experiment us still until then. We would like to experiment with the next sense camp to really see if we can grow from the last one. And we would also like to experiment with making maybe a TEDx event in Amsterdam by Make Sense, as another event to try, another thing to try, and show that we are capable of doing something very serious and going through that model. Also give ourselves a better name, increase the visibility of Make Sense through creating a TEDx event, which is worldwide, YouTube and so on, the TEDx website. So that could be a good idea. We already showed a good experiment with the last Sense Camp, and it could become, and we are willing to continue with this momentum. So we feel that there is momentum that we got from the last Sense Camp, and we want to continue with that and ride on that and create this event. So we think it will help. And beside that, we want also to explain and stress out the fact that we will not require any financial support from headquarters. We know that this is an issue, and we want to self-sustain ourselves completely. At the beginning, like we said, with the sponsorship of Sapient, other sponsors that we might find on the way, but in general, again, we will not require any financial support from headquarters. So, which means that we're going to be completely autonomous, but on the same time, obviously, we will be completely open to suggestions and directions from headquarters. Make sure that we comply with and apply all the Make Sense DNA structure and aspects into this event and into what we're doing. But we will be autonomous, and you will not need to be busy with this. We don't want this to take more from your time and more from your. To some extent, of course, it will, but not like the other programs that were in other countries. It's not going to be something like that. That's anyway our intention. So, saying all of that beautiful, amazing reasons why we're the best and it should be here and we should do this, we're also aware of some challenges that we'll be facing with doing such an event. Let's be honest. First of all, there's the fluctuation of the team. Like many other hotspots, we're already looking at Juliet going for a month to Australia in June. Juliet is a very important part of the team, especially when we're talking about organizing events. She's very good at that. And it's in June, and we want to make the next one in September. So It's not going to interrupt, but with something we take in consideration. We take it heavily. Adicity, a very important part of the team. She's going to leave the country. She doesn't like it here anymore. And Make Sense is not enough to make her stay, unfortunately, not yet. So with that, we see people coming and going, and we are aware of these fluctuations, and for that we will need to build a stronger team, or build more on the local teams. So, Amsterdam being such an event and party hub might actually be also a disadvantage. Might be too many events at the same time. Event locations already being booked in advance for a long time, and so on. We'll just need to be aware of these things and go around them. And if we want to be affordable, like Make Sense is, the event's always in a cheap price. We will have to put a lot of effort into building partnerships, mainly sponsors, people that will help us subsidize the event. So that's a lot of work that is also a challenge that we'll have to face. Only Sapient will probably not be enough. We have a lot of experience for small to medium-sized events, so up to 250 people. We have people with experience in the team. But if we grow to more than that, which is our intention, we will go into fresh new waters that we never experienced before. And obviously it adds a lot of complexity to have events of above 1,000. So after talking about all of these challenges, there are probably many more challenges that we'll face, and obviously we know how event goes. There's always things in the last minute. I haven't been ever, with all the thousands of caterings and all the different kind of events that I've been to, there's no 100% smooth event anyway, so we shouldn't expect that. That will be silly. We can guarantee you that despite all of these challenges, the team is crazy motivated and willing to go into this kind of thing. We asked around, and everybody is very committed, the ones that are staying. We want and will make happen the best events ever made about social enterprises in Amsterdam, if you will allow us, of course. And even more, if we build up on the experience of the already existing Make Sense network. And for example, the festival that we're going to experience in April. And again, that's why me and Max are coming to that event. Maybe even more of us, but at least we always promised that me and Max will be there. So long story short, we have the European events capital, the most awesome team and network, and are part of the most awesome worldwide social entrepreneurs network. Makes sense. So please, what the fuck are we waiting for? See you soon.